behalf of IS University, Bhopal, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, I, Khushi Roy, from sixth semester, welcome all the dignitaries and participants of IS University in the expert lecture on the topic of quality improvement through action research. I would like to extend our heartiest welcome to our guest speaker, sir, of today's workshop, Professor S.K. Soni, sir. Before we commence with today's program, I would like to present a brief description of IS University. IS has been in the field of education for the past 20 years and has been endorsed as the most promising university of Central India, providing education from nursery to doctoral level. IS University is well known for its excellence in overall development and based education of students. To facilitate skill building, entrepreneurship, development, and creation of leading professionals, IS University keeps on taking such initiatives for the continuous development of both the students and the faculties. We are thankful to Dr. B.S. Yadav, Sir, Honorable Chancellor, IS University, for his generous presence and who has always encouraged and motivated us by his never-ending hard work, passion, foresight, and vision for the education system. Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to invite Dr. Anita Soni ma'am for the welcome address.
Thank you, Khushi. Thank you, Khushi. A very hearty good morning to all. A warm welcome to all the dignitaries and the participants of today's live expert lecture on would like to for my
sound is not coming. Sound is interrupted.
speaker of today, Dr. The presence of Honorable Chancellor Engineer B.S. Yadav, sir, who provide us with such an opportunity to widen our knowledge horizon. I'm sure that and for the next 1 hour, we will calculating and fruitful for everyone by this lecture. Thank you to all.
Should I start?
Wait, sir.
Hello.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Wait.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now it's my pleasure and honor to introduce our esteemed guest speaker for today's workshop, Dr. Professor S.K. Soni, sir. Sir is an honor of genuine personality. He has completed his bachelor degree from IIT BHU, Varanasi, MTech from NIT Allahabad. He is having a very vast experience of NIT Bhopal for 10 years and NIT TR Bhopal for 27 years. After retirement, he joined SIRT OIST Bhopal for 2004 to 2012. He has having experience of 8 years there. At present, working as a consultant accreditation since 2012. Deputed as expert faculty to the countries like Thailand, Nepal, Philippines, Sri Lanka, and different years. And he has also guided many students, written many books of engineering and NBA accreditation books. Sir has also gotten many fellowship, sponsorship from foreign.
Now, I will it's my privilege to have the presence of an expert lecture, Professor S.K. Soni, sir. And I would now request you to please commence with your session, sir. Over to you, sir. Hello.
Over to me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning,
all dignitaries on the dais and on the floor, and all my dear faculty members and many students, those who have joined the seminar. I was a mechanical engineer and now I do not know what kind of person I am. And the age is hardly 80 years plus. I am very much obliged to IEC University and Dr. Anita Soni and the Vice Chancellor who have given me an opportunity to express my ideas about the quality improvement in any educational institution by doing action research. So if you permit me, then I would like to share my screen.
Sir, you can.
Yeah. Quality improvement through action research. That is the idea. Is something wrong going on in our colleges? Can you see? Can you read, all of you?
Sir, it's visible.
Visible and readable
Yeah.
also?
Yeah. Yes, sir, you can continue.
Yeah, I'm just trying to adjust my screen because many pictures are seen and so I cannot see my slide properly. I'm just adjusting. Okay. We are beginning to recognize that our paradigm mistakes a mean for an end. It takes the means called instruction or teaching and makes it colleges and our purpose. The idea is that perhaps many colleges have begun during last some 40 to 50 years that teaching is the only purpose and they do not bother about learning by the students. College is an institution that exists to produce learning. This shift changes everything. It is both needed and wanted. We now see that our mission is not instruction, but rather that of the end are producing learning with every student, whatever means work best. And these are the comments and the findings and recommendations from one of the research studies. Therefore, all colleges and all faculty members and all students need to focus on learning rather than teaching alone. What is quality? Harvey and Green distinguishes three definitions of quality that can help us to understand what quality teaching should mean to faculty members. Quality can be defined as value for money. A quality institution in this view is one that satisfies the demand of public accountability. Whatever money the parents and the students are investing, they should get the return, the service of the education so that they become capable engineers. Quality may be seen as fitness for the purpose being that of the institution. For instance, getting students to learn professional abilities efficiently and become productive citizens, not unemployed graduates. The last definition listed by Harvey and Green is that quality as transforming. According to this definition, quality teaching is the teaching that transforms students' perception and the way they go about applying their knowledge to the real world problems and solve them in a tangible way. Let us see the difference between learning and teaching. Teaching or facilitation of learning is a process of scaffolding the process of intended learning by specific learners. What happened? You see in the picture that some adult is trying to help the learner, the child, how to drive bicycle. So this is what is facilitation. Learning is a process of relatively permanent change in the behavior of the learner. So learning facilitation should be student-centered. So in the initial, the teacher or the faculty member or the college or the institution will help students in learning, but later on the students on alone can drive the bicycle in a crowded. I do not know why this Zoom is not working properly. So when a building is constructed, lot of scaffolding is supporting the roof. But once the roof is set after some 27 days or so, then the total scaffolding can be kept on the roof itself. That is what is the process of learning. In the initial stages, the students need support from the teacher, from the environment, from the library, and all those persons. But later on, it is not required. Students become independent of the teacher. The principles of andragogy is the psychology of learning by adults. And the faculty of any college should treat students like adults. And if the students are being treated like adults, then the faculty member and the students both must keep in their consideration the basic principles of learning by adults. So I'm just trying to give you some overview of the principles of learning by adults, and that is what is known as andragogy, not pedagogy. Pedagogy is the psychology of learning by children or schoolboys. The first principle of the Malcolm Knowles andragogy for adult students is self-concept. As a person matures, his self-concept moves from one being dependent personality towards one being self-directed human being. So the college students are adult and they are tending to become self-directed human beings. And that is why faculty must recognize this fact, and faculty should involve learners in planning, learning, and teaching activities. So whenever you are designing some timetable or some academic activity or some industrial visit or some expert lectures or some tutorial or some project work, students should also be involved in planning the work. So then they will start on it. The second principle says, as person matures, he accumulates a growing reservoir of experience that becomes an increasing basic resource of new learning. So unlike the children learn in a different way and adults learn in a different way. So the new learning becomes old learning plus new learning. And that is why the faculty members and the college must recognize the background information and background skills and abilities of the students. And it is on the platform of the old learning, new experience can be erected or commissioned. So divide the classroom in 3 groups at least: below average, average, and above average. And whenever we teach, try to compensate and try to give information at these three levels, at average level, above average level, and below average level. If there are tutorial sheets, if there is a test, so there has to be three tests. That is what is the ideal idea of the Malkin Knowles. Readiness to learn. As person matures, his readiness to learn becomes oriented increasingly to the developmental task of his social roles. Now, this is a very, very important fact regarding the orientation of the students. Adult students, they want to consider their social roles, whether whatever the faculty member is trying to teach, whatever the faculty member is recommending to learn, whether that particular will be of some use in his future role, social role, when he becomes engineer or when he becomes scientist or when he becomes the manager, all those things. So faculty should relate topic with relevant roles of graduates in the near future. What are the roles these graduates, once the graduation is complete, what are the different roles in near future these graduates are going to play? So try to connect the topic of your teaching with that. If that is done, then the adult students will be ready to learn. Orientation to the learning. As a person matures, his time perspective changes from one of postponed application of knowledge to immediacy of application. And accordingly, his orientation towards learning shifts from one subject-centeredness to one problem-centeredness. The interpretation of this particular principle for faculty members is faculty should engage students in problem solving related to their near future roles. So whatever are the future roles, if somebody wants to become entrepreneur, then connect your topic and your subject and your courses to the entrepreneurship. If somebody is wanting to become some kind of manager, then try to connect the problems of the management or the managers they are going to face during their job, working for some country, some company, etc. Or if they want to aspire for some higher studies, then what kind of problems they can face when they take up higher studies like post-graduation or PhD work. So connect your subject and course that how it will be useful in their pursuing the future social roles. So that is how the problem solving approach is very, very useful. Motivation to learn. As person matures, the motivation to learn is internal. Many times faculty members have a misconcept that the students can be motivated externally by their telling some joke or some episodes or some kind of case studies and things of that kind. No, adults are internally motivated until and unless the students or the adults are motivated to learn. Nobody can make them learn. And the fear of examination, the interpretation of this rule is fear of examination or sessional marks does not work on the adult students. And that's why, despite of that fear, many students do not come to the classes. So they need to be motivated by suggesting solutions to the problems of their near future roles. That is these are the five most important principles, and you have to interpret these principles in your own context. Why faculty should use student-centered methods and media? Currently, we are teacher-centered. Whatever teacher wants, he will do. Whatever may be the pace of teaching, the teacher will decide. Whatever is the content, whatever is the questions to be solved, everything has to be decided by the teacher. But that is not the correct way. Student-centered. So learner-centered or student-centered teaching and learning. Learner-centered teachers teach students how to think, solve problems, evaluate evidence, analyze argument, generate hypotheses and patterns in the data. All those learning skills essential to mastering material in the discipline. They do not leave many of these skills to the students. Such faculty do not assume that students pick up these skills on their own automatically. And that's why the tutorial classroom method and the flipped classroom method are most suitable for developing such skills. Only lecture method will not help. A few students do pick up skills on their own. They are God-gifted, brighter students, but most of the students are unable to do so. Research consistently confirms that learning skills develop faster if such skills are taught explicitly along with the content. For instance, if you are taking some management subject and if you want that the student has to have better leadership quality, good communication skills, then simply teaching theory of communication does not help. You have to allow students to practice communication, give some kind of theme, let them conduct some seminar, let them present some PowerPoint and things of that kind. So when you are teaching the content, along with that, all associated skills, abilities and personality attributes have to be taught. That is the idea. So most of these things are based from the different research studies. Beamer is another educational scientist who has done a lot of work on teaching learning process. So in the Journal of University of Teaching Learning Practice in Melbourne, he has developed 5 basic observations. Gradually shifting the balance of classroom power from teacher to student. That means the academic decision-making power should be transferred to students also in a gradual way. Designing content to build knowledge rather than a knowledge end in itself. So lot of interactive methods, problem solving method, group discussions have to be there. Positioning the teacher as facilitator and contributor rather than director and source of knowledge. And when I was a student about 50 years back or 45 years back, there were no digital media resources. Now a lot of digital media resources are available. Google is available. So teachers should not unnecessarily become the only source of information or knowledge. Gives a lot of direction for students so that they can access to the digital media and learn something on their own. Shifting responsibility of learning from teacher to learner. This is the most important thing. And teachers complain that if they give some assignment, if they give some questions to be solved, if they give something to be demonstrated by the students in the classroom, then the students simply become absent. Promoting learning through effective assessment. Involve students in developing model question papers, question banks, rubric banks. So in short, the role of students have to increase in planning and implementation of teaching and learning. A few more research findings. Constructivist learning theory implies that learning students are the key initiators and architects of their own learning and knowledge making, rather than passive vessels who receive transmission of knowledge from expert teachers. So Lord Macaulay, who introduced the education system during the British rule, he was following this principle that you pour water from a larger bucket to a smaller pot. And the teachers were made to believe that you have to pour knowledge in the mind of the student. That is not true. Students themselves construct their own knowledge. Student-centered learning and teaching has itself been variously defined as process by which students are given greater autonomy and control over the choice of subject, pace of learning, the learning methods used, and blended learning is one of the methods which allows all these things. And during the pandemic, most of the faculty members have adapted to this Zoom classrooms or the Google Meet classrooms and online learning. So that is what uh, combining the online learning with the regular face-to-face contact learning. It is the mechanism for higher education reform. So this is the opportunity. I heard that the fourth wave is coming. So IES can take up some research work in testing the blended learning method, how it can be made more effective. A broad approach to the teaching that ultimately holds the students responsible for their own educational advances. So again and again, most of the researchers, they say that the student has to take responsibility of learning. I do not know how many students are present in this seminar. Dr. Anita, can you tell me that if students are available here?
Yes, sir. Students and faculties both are there.
Okay.
Those who are free, they have joined.
So for students, I'm just trying to suggest that you have to take more responsibility for learning. And if your faculty member is doing hard work in facilitating you to learn, you have to equally be doing the hard work. The current scenario of the traditional approach to teaching and learning, faculty mostly rely on efficient lecture-based or simple practical work-based teaching methods and try to cover the syllabus, not uncover the syllabus. Management does not bother, generally bothers more about, management generally bothers more about teaching, as if teaching is the end or the purpose of the college, which is not. Learning facilitation or scaffolding requires more effective methods of teaching and like case study, classroom seminar, role play, library-based assignments, seminars, project work, which need more time and resources during which learners are more active than faculty. So if learning has to take place, the learner have to become more active. They cannot be passive listeners in a lecture method. So faculty need to do action research and to realize effectiveness of teaching methods and media on learning by students. Nobody else can convince the faculty members because of their traditional teaching method habits. So if they take some action research on different methods and then they find that students learn better by some other method, then they will slowly start pursuing the other methods also. Simply faculty development will not help. After research, faculty use better methods to enhance their teaching competence and render quality learning to the students. So action research is very useful tool for that. So let us do some discussions on action research for improving the quality of learning by improving the quality of facilitation process. So teacher or the faculty, they are facilitators now, and the teaching is nothing but a facilitating process for learning by students. Research and action research. Research refers to a process wherein activities are carried out systematically to find solution of the problem. And standardized instruments and complex testing of hypotheses are used. That is what is a normal research for higher qualifications like PhD. Action research refers to a process wherein activities are carried out systematically to find solution of a problem related to any aspect of teaching or learning facilitation in a simpler way. So we do not use very complicated instruments and complicated complex testing of the hypothesis, or even sometimes we do not make hypothesis. So everything is done by the teacher. Just to assess if suppose he or she teaches the he or she changes the methods of delivery of the content, then what happens to the students? That is what is the action research I am trying to focus. Action research tries to find solutions by doing experimentation on a specific group of faculty and students. So for instance, some faculty and some students or some batches are involved in the action research of testing or comparing some 2 or 3 methods, which is better for learning by the students, then it is the group of the faculty and the group of the students specific to our IEC. It cannot be generalized to all other situations. So every institution or every college has to do his own action research, because it is not that strictly done, or it does not follow that strict discipline of the normal research. So action research tries to find out solution by doing experimentation on a specific group of faculty and students. That must be realized. So whatever finding, one teacher may find something for his course, for his students, for himself. It cannot be said even within IES, it cannot be generalized, and it may not be true for other faculty member who is teaching other courses to another group of students. That is the meaning of generalization. Readiness to learn and effective communication with the students seem to be the key problem in current learning facilitation process. So currently the most difficult time when the pandemic also comes, when we do online, I am doing online delivery of the content. So effective communication. So we have to work very hard, do some action research. How do we can improve the communication efficiency and effectiveness with the students using online method, blended learning, flipped classroom method, and things of that kind where online learning is required. So unless we do action research, we cannot apply the action research done by some Britishers from Western universities to our university situation. Action research finding solutions of the problem related to different aspects of classroom teaching approaches. Faculty, him, herself identifies teaching problem and finds a feasible solution as per his, her experience, capability, and competencies. So the methodology of action research adopted by one teacher may not be suitable for another teacher, for another group of teacher-student group. So every teacher has to consider, while taking up some problem solving through action research, his own experience, his own capability, his own competency. So whatever has to be done has to be considered, is to be done in the context of the experience and the environment of the particular classroom and the course. A solution that can render better learning to the students, to the maximum students. So the idea is, when you do the action research, your idea is that a solution, what you are trying to find out, which can render better learning to maximum students. 100% students may not be benefited, but maximum students, whatever students are available in the classroom, how to benefit, how to render benefit to maximum number of students. Methodology of action research is flexible from simple to highly analytic. It depends on the competencies and the experience of the faculty member. He can start with a simple approach to become very, very highly analytic and may even pursue PhD in this particular aspect. Start with comparing effectiveness of one method over the other, using averages of accomplishment by the students. With more experience in basic action research, proceed to conduct research during using complex statistical tools and testing. So in the beginning, we can even have a pre-test and post-test setup and have a control group and an experimental group, and then try two methods and try to compare the averages obtained by the students in the post-test. Steps in conducting action research. Identification of the problem and the objectives. Learning is short and deficient. What is the problem? Teaching competence and or learning competence or learning environment. So there are three variables: Trinity, the teacher, the student, and the environment. So you have to identify the problem lies where, and then you have to solve that particular problem. It can be with you, it can be with the students, it can be with the environment in the classroom or environment in the department or in the college or in the university. Then formulation of the hypothesis. In terms of writing objectives of research, like comparing two methods on the basis of opinions of the students or scores of the pre-test and the post-test. And in the beginning, when you start taking external research, even you can avoid writing the hypothesis. Data collection. So for data collection, you have to have two groups. One sample on which you are conducting experiment by teaching by a newer method, and another group, whatever remaining students are there, they are control group, and then you are also doing research. So you have to divide the classroom into two groups. One is sample group, another is the control group. And then you teach using two different methods and then apply the same post-test to both these groups. Data analysis may be qualitative, may be quantitative. You can have some survey, you can have some opinions asked from the students, what they are feeling, whether they have understood much better way, or you can quantify it by giving some test. Then you arrive at the conclusion. What shall improve attainment of intended learning? And in terms of NBA accreditation, it is attainment of the COs, attainments of the POs, attainments of the objectives and whatnot. So graphically, the action research can be depicted by a spiral PAOR, P-A-O-R, plan, act, observe, and reflect. So do one experiment, then you refine after thinking. Reflection means thinking what went wrong and what is going correctly. Then again revise the plan. So it's a cycle. So when you are comparing two methods, it cannot be generalized. You cannot come to the conclusion that one method is better than other method, or by this method students learn better. So you have to continue the experimentation over 2 or 3 cycles and then come to the conclusion. I have given references to all these comments which I'm using here, and this particular PowerPoint is a kind of overview PowerPoint over the action research. Conducting action research on effectiveness of classroom seminar method. Can I ask a question here, Dr. Anita?
Yes, sir.
How many of you, is there any faculty member who has tried classroom seminar method ever in his career?
Yeah, we all are using in IS, sir. We are using.
Seminar
Yeah,
in the classroom.
yeah.
Okay.
General
let us do-
discussions and seminars we are doing in the classrooms.
Okay, so now I am just trying to present classroom seminar method the way we have developed during when I was working in these private engineering colleges, SIRT and Oriental, etc. during my that 8 years time. Step 1, write the title. Step 2, objectives of the action research. In place of hypothesis, I am writing objective. The title is Effectiveness of Classroom Seminar Method versus Lecture Method in Facilitating Learning of Core Content, RCOs plus non-core program outcomes. Content, though theoretical, if suppose it's a mechanical engineering, then the core of mechanical engineering. But non-core may be communication skills, project management, solving some problem, society and the ethics and things of that kind. So to compare the average scores of pre-test and post-test achieved by the students before and after facilitation of intended learning using lecture method and classroom seminar method. To assess the potential of inculcating non-core program outcomes, POs like search skills, communication skills, leadership, team spirit at the end of both methods using suitable rubrics, assessment rubrics. To explore the possibility of preference of using the method of classroom seminar on the basis of its potential in inculcating non-core program outcomes in addition to attainment of core course outcomes. Please just read again, all of you. Sampling. Choose a sample of 42 students for teaching a topic using lecture method. Take a sample of 18 students out of 60 from a batch size of 60 and divide them into 3 hexa groups of 6 students each for teaching using classroom seminar method to conduct 3 short seminars in a session. Split the topic into 3 parts and allocate 3 hexa groups. So one subpart is allocated to one subgroup. So group number 1, part number 1, group number 2, part number 2, group number 3, part number 3. So that is how the allocation of topics, subtopics are given. Explain the library-based assignment and request the librarian to arrange and facilitate students for necessary resources. So in this case, the utilization of library and librarians will be implied. If you simply give a topic to the student and simply leave them, you collect material from anywhere in the space, then that is not the method I'm recommending here. It's a systematic method and it has to be planned very well. Then you have 3 hexa groups having 6 members with code G1 1.1 to G1.6. So I'm just using some code. So group 1, member 1, group 1, member 6. G1.6 means group 1, member 6. Allocate tasks to subgroups of the hexa groups as shown below for G1 and ask to act. G1.1, G1.2 and G1.3, they will do search material. The task for these 3 students, search material and write succinct notes, some kind of class notes. Then 1.2, 1.3 and 1.4, convert notes into PowerPoint and arrange for presentation. This is the task for second subgroup. Then 1.4, 1.5, 1.6 and 1.5, sorry, 1.5 is repeated. Present seminar and G1.6 handles questions and answers. So specific members and specific group of sub-members will be having a specific task. Make and use suitable assessment rubric. You cannot simply conduct some viva voce to test them, or have some proper written objective type test, or maybe short answer question type of test. Collect quantitative data using pre-test and post-test as shown in Excel file. So this is the pre-test and the post-test data, and I am only considering the average marks. So test scores conducted on the classroom seminar, the average marks is 7 out of 10, and by the lecture method, 5.42 out of 10. I also have the Excel file, but that is not required. My idea is to explain you the procedure. I think you are also using rubrics. This is the generic rubric, analytic rubric, team preparing for classroom seminar in the library. So when the students are given task of doing work in the library, there is a rubric to assess the performance of each and every student as well as the group as a whole. Similarly, this is another rubric. When the seminar is being conducted, then these are the 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, and how the students are performing these 4 steps, the description of that. So that is what is the rubric. So students and the teachers together, they will make the rubrics for the action research. So based on that data collection and analysis, the peer assessment can also be one of the option. You can give some kind of assessment tool to the students so they can assess the performance of the other student. That is what is the peer assessment. That can be one of the parameters for your final assessment. Every team member shall use a rubric made by both students and faculty and shall give marks on different criteria where faculty is not present, because it is not possible for faculty members to sit there in the library, sit with each and every student and observe them. So the peer assessment as well as the logbook entries, these are the two methods we can use. The team leader shall maintain a logbook and give marks using a rubric. So rubrics is very important for external research to all team members, including marks to the self. So rubric is an assessment instrument which reduces the subjectivity of the assessor. So that most of the assessors, if they are using rubric, then the assessment value will be comparable. If you do not have rubric, then the assessment values will be very much divergent. Faculty shall give marks using a rubric and on the basis of his spot observations, marks awarded by the leader and the entries in the logbook. All those things have been considered and faculty may estimate the weighted average of the marks. Then he can give weightage on the self-assessment, peer assessment, and his own observation. So all that, it depends on the complexity which a teacher wants to do in assessment. Simpler but very subjective, hold a viva voce based on the individual roles of different team members and also consider self-assessment entries in the logbook. So you have to choose what kind of assessment, how complex and how deeper assessment has to be there. But to start with, you can go even for the option 5.2, simpler but very subjective. And then slowly you reduce the subjectivity by using rubrics. Conclusion. Classroom seminar method has resulted higher post-test scores as compared to average is better than average of the post-test of the lecture method. It has quite high potential of inculcating non-core cues related to personality traits or outcomes. Non-core skills cannot be inculcated through lecture method, so it is not possible. So if you have to develop the non-core, that is the communication skills, the leadership qualities, team spirit, and all those things, then simple lecture method cannot do that. But time required is one session only. So you do not use extra time. In one session only you do this. Self-learning time for 1 to 2 hours in library is required. So this is what is the extra time which students have to have. And that's why in your timetable, you have to have some library time so that one faculty member at least can conduct 2 seminars in one semester. It is not n number of seminars, only 1, 2 to 3 seminars for his course in one semester. So self-learning time for students of about 1 to 2 hours in library is required with library resources and planning and constant guidance by the faculty member. And in such cases, if you do not have time in the timetable, then you have to open the library beyond the working hours and give facilities to the students so that they can come and study in the library beyond working hours. So you have to arrange for transportation, opening of the library, etc., etc. Recommendations. Lecture method is suitable to deliver factual conceptual content mainly from theoretical core courses at knowledge and understanding levels. Bloom's taxonomy, knowledge and understanding. Remember and understand. Classroom seminar method does what a good lecture can do in addition to inculcating non-core outcomes necessary for professional personality development. It has great potential of inculcating non-core program outcomes related to OB, outcome-based education. Any questions at this point?
One student has asked me in between that I want to ask the sir that is the student need to
Hello?
Is the student need Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes,
ma'am.
Audible.
Sir, unmute yourself.
Hello? 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 Sir? Sony sir?
Can you listen me?
Yes,
Hello?
yes sir.
Yeah.
Yes sir. Might be some media problem, networking problem was there.
No problem. So more observation or action research is the fundamental premises of this work is that action research framework, plan, act, observe, reflect, the graphics which I showed you is aligned with the systematic and structural thinking. And slowly, the competence of the faculty member and the quality of learning of the students will keep on increasing. It's a slow process, but it is a very, very positive process. Learning itself, as it does to inquiry, analysis, hypothesis, problem solving, and the faculty members slowly get inducted to research orientation. That's the great achievement of the action research. Action research is the form of self-reflective inquiry that can be used in the institution-based curriculum development, professional development, and institution improvement schemes. For instance, the Rajiv Gandhi Technical University syllabus only gives the names of the topics. But if you start doing action research and getting experience on certain different methods, then you can suggest delivery methods, teaching methods, as well as different assessment methods, incorporate those in the syllabus, and then try to make IES curriculum specific to IES university. Initiation of action research. So some sample objectives of the action research can be comparing effectiveness of lecture method versus case study method for teaching of the procedural topics, lecture method versus blended learning method. The fourth wave is coming, unfortunately. So online learning will start. And in that, that can be the opportunity where you can compare lecture method with blended learning method, where you use online learning method with contact mode also. Traditional tutorial method versus flipped classroom method. So both lecture method and tutorial method, they are contact methods, but flipped classroom method, half of the time is online and half of the time is contact. So that is the flipped classroom, and AICTE has recommended two methods for most of the higher education institutions, blended learning and flipped classroom method. Classroom seminar method versus traditional lecture method, the way I have explained, and then you can improvise that particular procedure. Now, after doing this research, the next important task is to write technical scientific papers and develop the competence in writing scientific papers in such a way so that they can be published in referred journals, international journals. And if you publish 4 or 5 such papers, then half of the PhD is complete. So guidelines for writing a scientific paper. Read a few scientific papers on similar themes for a week or so. So unless you read how the other people are writing these papers, you will not come to the idea that how to write that. Write an outline or brief structure of your paper to express your experience in a systematic and logical way. A scientific paper should have, in proper order, title, abstract, introduction, materials, methods, results or conclusions, discussion, and recommendations. Then there are few rules suggested for writing scientific papers. Induce interest. It should not be boring. It should become interesting. Write in the brief or in the abstract, the people should become interested in reading the paper. So induce interest in abstract and in introduction, inform and persuade the reader to learn from that. Write for your reader and write clearly. Do not write that I did this and I will be doing that. Write that is from keeping the interest of the reader in focus. Eliminate unnecessary redundancy. Do not repeat one thing again and again. In education, redundancy is desirable, but in writing scientific papers, this redundancy is a disqualification. Avoid digression. Don't over-explain and avoid overstatements. Avoid unnecessarily qualifiers. Do not boast. Use consistent tenses. Use precise words. Simpler words are preferred over complex words, and use concrete words and examples. Simpler sentences are preferred over more complicated sentences. Use active voices, except generally in the methods. Make sure that the subject and the verb agree. Use affirmative rather than negative construction. Avoid use of indefinites like this. Use transitions, cite sources as well as findings. Proofread your paper carefully. Spell check does not catch everything. There is spelled correctly, but not what you mean by another spelling up there. Publish your experience-based papers. So action research gives you a lot of experience, and then based on that experience, you can construct many papers, and some of you can even pursue PhD work. So the first step may be you publish your paper in your department's best practices e-journal or on wall poster. Second, on the university and the college websites. Second level. Third level in the regional and the national journals, and fourth level in the international journals. Do we need more to invest? So for the management and for the faculty members and for the students, some information is shared here. Time and effort of faculty and students and allied staff like librarian, etc. may increase by 5 to 10% due to overtime efforts beyond working hours. Expenses on holding a few students' parents orientation programs to explain both students and parents what are the changes in teaching patterns and why these changes are brought about in the best interest of the students' learning. So you have to convince the students, because if the students become more responsible for their learning, then they have to be more responsible. They have to attend their sessions, and they have to complete their assignments, and they have to present their seminars, things of that kind. Expenses on converting a few regular tutorial classrooms with movable furniture. The fixed furniture is against all action research. All methods which use better learning, fixed furniture becomes one of the obstructions. So have some classrooms with movable furnitures which can be arranged, rearranged in small group work, in circular big meetings and things of that kind. Expansion on audiovisual aids like whiteboards, LCD projectors, screens, slightly more electricity bill, 2 to 3%. Expansion on publishing and providing soft copies of university syllabus and curriculum format, giving ideas behind changes for assuring better learning, resulting in better employability of the graduates in near future. So if the learning is better, if the employability is better, if the placement is better, the investment, extra investment of time, effort, and money is justifiable. My best wishes to both faculty and students in pursuing action research. So action research has to be done by the group of faculty and the students. So it is not the task of the faculty alone. Students have to cooperate. And I am very happy that during this seminar, during this presentation, the students are also present. Now we can have some 4 or 5 minutes question answers, and I will welcome the questions from the students as well. Thank you. I am now
Yes, sir.
stopping my chair.
One student is sitting next to me. एक स्टूडेंट मेरे जस्ट बगल में बैठी हुई है और उसका एक बहुत ही बड़ा क्वेश्चन उसने मेरे से पूछा आपका लेक्चर सुनते सुनते सर कि एक्शन रिसर्च के लिए हमें कॉलेज आना जरूरी है? बगैर कॉलेज आए हम एक्शन रिसर्च नहीं कर सकते?
एक्शन रिसर्च यदि आप ऑनलाइन लर्निंग कर रहे हैं, ब्लेंडेड लर्निंग कर रहे हैं, तो आपको घर में बहुत सारा काम करना है। बहुत सारी मेथड्स हैं जहां पर आपको कॉलेज आना जरूरी नहीं है। जैसे फ्लिप्ड क्लासरूम में आधा आपको लर्निंग जो लेक्चर मेथड से हम जो यहाँ पर सिखाते हैं या पढ़ाते हैं, वो सारा का सारा आपको वीडियो लेक्चर से सीखना है, टेक्स्ट मटेरियल से सीखना है, वर्कबुक से सीखना है। अपने आप सीख करके जब आप कॉलेज में आएंगे तो फ्लिप्ड क्लासरूम में जो ट्यूटोरियल होगा और जो ग्रुप वर्क होगा, ग्रुप डिस्कशन होगा, माइनर माइक्रो प्रोजेक्ट का वर्क होगा, वो सब क्लासरूम में होगा। तो आधा काम आपको घर में बैठ के करना है, आधा काम आपको कॉलेज में करना है। एनी अदर क्वेश्चन?
क्या मैं इसी क्वेश्चन को आगे कंटिन्यू करती हूँ कि क्या आजकल के स्टूडेंट्स इतने रिस्पॉन्सिबल हैं?
क्या? फिर से बोलिए।
क्या आजकल के स्टूडेंट इतने रिस्पॉन्सिबल हैं कि अगर हम उन्हें ऑनलाइन क्लासेस के थ्रू अगर हम उनकी क्लासेस लेते हैं तो वो वहां पे केयरलेसली उसको म्यूट करके सुनते रहते हैं? जी, कनेक्ट तो हो जाएंगे फॉर अटेंडेंस बट नॉट फॉर स्टडी।
आप यदि स्टूडेंट्स के इंडिफरेंट होकर के उनको सुनाते रहिए लेक्चर, तो वो इंडिफरेंट होकर सुनते रहते हैं। वो तो उनकी मजबूरी है, अटेंडेंस 75% देना है, इसलिए बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स आना पड़ता है उनको, अदरवाइज आने की जरूरत नहीं होती। एब्सेंटिज्म का सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम यही है कि सिंपल लेक्चर मेथड एंड चॉक एंड टॉक जो मेथड है वो बहुत बोरिंग हो जाती है, और हम उन चीज़ों को पढ़ाने की कोशिश करते हैं जो कि वो स्टूडेंट्स खुद अपने आप सीख सकते हैं। हमें हायर लर्निंग यानी अंडरस्टैंडिंग से ऊपर एप्लीकेशन, सिंथेसिस एंड एनालिसिस के ऊपर में काम करना चाहिए। वो हम नहीं कर पाते हैं क्योंकि 60 स्टूडेंट्स के साथ एक टीचर वो काम नहीं कर सकता है। हमें स्टूडेंट्स को स्मॉल ग्रुप में तोड़ना ही होगा, और फिर उस केस में कंटेंट आपका कवर नहीं होगा। किसने कहा है कि इतना सारा कोर्स पढ़ना है या पढ़ाना है? बहुत सारा कोर्स लो स्टैंडर्ड से पढ़ाने के बजाय कम कोर्स को अच्छे स्टैंडर्ड से पढ़ाएं तो ज़्यादा फायदा होगा देश को। अब ये जो प्रॉब्लम है ये यूनिवर्सिटी लेवल की प्रॉब्लम है, इसलिए मैं आपको ये सजेस्ट करना चाह रहा हूँ कि यदि IES यूनिवर्सिटी में कुछ कोर्सेज या कुछ प्रोग्राम्स एफिलिएटेड हैं तो हम उसमें कुछ ना कुछ 1 या 2 या कोर्स या 1 या 2 सेमेस्टर में वहाँ एक्सपेरिमेंट करके देखना चाह रहे हैं कि इतना सारा पढ़ाना ज़रूरी है क्या सिलेबस में, या इतना सारा क्लासरूम में पढ़ाना ज़रूरी है, या अटेंडेंस 75% होना ज़रूरी है। तो ये बहुत सारे इश्यूज़ हैं हमारे यूनिवर्सिटी सिस्टम में। एग्जामिनेशन सबसे बड़ा कल्प्रिट है जो हमारे किसी भी चीज़ को ठीक नहीं करने देता है, और सिलेबस दूसरा है। सिलेबस भी पुरानी चीज़ें छूट नहीं पा रही हैं, नई चीज़ें हम डालते जा रहे हैं, तो बहुत ज़्यादा हैवी इंफॉर्मेशन लोड है। ये उस जमाने की बात हुआ करती थी जब टीचर ही वाज द ओनली सोर्स ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन। Now there are hundreds of the sources of information which students can pursue on their own. So it is not necessary for students and the teacher to be present in contact mode continuously for a longer period. We have to do extra research on many things. Any other observation?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very
sir.
much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your valuable insight and for the profoundly informative session. Now, I'm giving vote of thanks. On behalf of IS University, I, Khushi Roy from 6th semester, would like to conclude the session. I hope you all enjoyed this immense learning workshop. It was really an engrossing and engrossing and fruitful session. On behalf of IS University Bhopal, I would like to give my hearty vote of thanks to our guest speaker, Dr. S.K. Soni sir, for his wonderful, informative, insightful session. I would like to express my deep gratitude to the Honorable Chancellor Engineer B.S. Yadav sir for his never-ending encouragement and guidance to organize such sessions. Thanks to the IS management team who made this lecturer a resounding success through their perfect teamwork and cooperation. Last but not the least, thanks to all the students, those who are attended our live session and help us in making this session a huge success. Stay safe and stay tuned with IS University. Now, we are providing a feedback.
Yes, we are students, we are student and faculty member. We are providing a link, feedback link in your chat box. Kindly give your feedback. Sir, as you told about action research, I want to say something that in the Second World War, at the time when the fighting was going on, first time in India has started using the research that is called an operation research. Now it's the time for taking change in the teaching methodology, and that required to implement the action. Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful session. Thank you to all the faculty members who have joined for making this session fruitful. Thank you to all. Thank you to the management group. Thank you to the Chancellor, sir, and thank you to the SK Soni, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, everybody, and IS
Thank you.
University.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you, sir.